And we are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock. It is Tuesday, May 27th, Game 4. Knicks Pacers. Knicks got the last one. OKC got yesterday's. We're here again to run it back. Kind of excited for the slate, too. Go Pacers. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. I don't think I did this, but me, Josh Engelman, this guy, Greg Ehrenberg. What's going on, Greg?
So we just got the Knicks starting lineup, which it's what we thought. We thought Mitchell Robinson was going to stick in the starting lineup, but there was potential for a change there. But we do have confirmation Mitchell Robinson sticking in the starting unit for the New York Knicks. So convenient. We get that right at the top of the show and we can discuss.
Yeah. I'll take that. Makes it so I don't have to change any of the thought processes I had before this. Let's see. What's the most interesting thing? I know where the most interesting thing is. It's the place that we need to start. We'll dive right into it. In Game 3, we got to experience DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet. But I think you can justify both of those guys not being in the rotation at all today, depending on how you want to look through the game flow from Game 3. So my question to you is, what is your interest in either Landry Shamet or DeLon Wright?
Very, 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 very low. So a couple of things happened in that last game. First, the Knicks played like super, super desperate rotations. They were just anything that they could get to stick to try to make a different result than what happened the last couple games of the series, which the first couple games in the series, there was an overtime game. They were absurdly great competitive games. I don't know that you need to overthrow everything just because you lost a couple of really close games. It's not like they got the doors blown off them in those games or anything like that. But also what happened in last game was not only were they just trying to get anything to potentially work, Miles McBride picked up 3 personal fouls in a minute, which also, by the way, is not a reason to take out Miles McBride. You know how many personal fouls Miles McBride finished with in that game? 3.
I'll assume 3, yeah.
Do you know how many times he fouled out in the regular season? 0. You know how many times he had 5 personal fouls in the regular season? Also 0. So you have a guy who typically plays like 18 to 20 minutes. They're taking out because he got 3 fouls. Like it was fairly absurd. So that was the direction they went, though. He gets the 3 fouls in a minute. They take him off the court, and then you end up getting the extended minutes from not Campaign, which, by the way, do you see Rick Carlisle seemed like he was trying to get, which I thought was hilarious. Rick Carlisle does a press conference, and he's like, can't believe Campaign didn't play. That guy's been great. Like he's trying to go to Thibodeau to getting Campaign back out on the court.
So he has been great.
Yeah. But anyway, just the fact that neither of them played all that well. And also Miles McBride was huge for them down the stretch to the point where they were really slow bringing Brunson back from foul trouble in the fourth quarter because McBride was holding his own. So just like, hey, we're just going to ride with McBride for a little bit here. Anyway, McBride is generally not a foul issue risk. So I think he goes back to playing his normal minutes off the bench. There is certainly a chance we see DeLon Wright or Landry Shamet, but it's not guaranteed. And to me, the ceiling is so low and the floor is literally 0 to the point where I just don't think it's a worthwhile risk to take for today.
Yeah, the DeLon Wright one stands out to me as only in aggressive foul trouble. Again, is he going to be the guy? Because I don't think he checks in if McBride doesn't pick up those fouls. The next question is, does Shamet? Now, Shamet definitely checked in at the end of the second quarter because of Brunson's fouls, 100%. The stretch in the second quarter, though, is reasonable for someone else to be picking up those minutes. It's also very reasonable that Mikal Bridges just takes all of them like he has before and plays most of the first half. So I'm very nervous about both of them. I think I'd lean Shamet if I was going to take one of them. I would prefer to take neither of them.
Yeah, it's neither for me. And once again, I'm not saying that these guys can't play or anything like that. I mean, they can't play relative to other NBA players very well. And it's just that you need them to actually play, which is a non-certainty. But then even when they're on the court, they have to play well. That's an uphill battle for these guys. And then on top of it, there actually are some okay punt options in this game. Like it seems that we could feel pretty good, at least for now, about maybe I should take this back. But at least as of right now, it seems like Tony Bradley is going to be the backup center. If Thomas Bryant ends up getting those minutes back today, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. But considering the potential rewards of those punt guys, like Tony Bradley to me is a much better consideration than Landry Shamet or DeLon Wright, or if somebody wanted to try dusting off campaign. Like if I'm going to go all the way down to 1K, just give me Tony Bradley if I'm punting.
Was there a scenario this season where you expected to say that sentence at all?
No.
I mean,
there were regular season slates where Miles Turner was out, and we were on the fence about even considering Bradley as a punt option with Turner out. And that was when it was Thomas Bryant and Bradley splitting minutes. Now you got a scenario where Miles Turner is in and Bradley has been playing some extended minutes here. I guess the other part of this, though, is how confident are you he retains the backup center gig over Thomas Bryant?
Well, considering he didn't play a single second in the league last year and played 3 minutes per game across 12 games for the Bulls in the previous year, it feels like he shouldn't play at all.
It does.
In a Eastern Conference Finals. So that part is scary. But it hasn't gone poorly so far. So I'd be very surprised if he just lost the minutes out of nowhere, because it hasn't been a tire fire when he's been out there. But we need to remember that this dude is like a non-existent NBA player. He's a replacement level center. It's only on this team because 2 other guys had Achilles explosions in the first month of the year. And we would be getting the James Wiseman experience or the Isaiah Jackson experience right now if this wasn't happening.
And also Thomas Bryant has just sucked so much in a couple games in a row that they're like, hey, we have to change something up. Thomas Bryant in limited minutes has gotten played off the court. So in game 1, he played 13 minutes. They got outscored by 11 points in the minutes he played. Game 2, they tightened up his minutes where he only played 4.5. They got outscored by 9 points in the 4.5 minutes he played. And that was when in the second half, they said, screw it. We're going with Bradley as our backup center as opposed to Thomas Bryant. And that's the way it's gone ever since. So I assume that the first big man off the bench for Indiana today is going to be Tony Bradley again instead of Thomas Bryant.
Same. That could be a very different discussion point for game 5, depending on how it goes. But for today, I don't think there's really... I'm not nervous about it today. It would be weird to me if it changed.
Yeah. So the one thing that I am maybe a little nervous about is if Tony Bradley sucks, then they go back to Thomas Bryant in the second half, because like you said, this is a guy who's more or less not been in the league the last couple of years. It wouldn't be shocking if he struggles guarding Karl Anthony Towns in a playoff game and they go, we're going to have to change something up here. But it's still any big man that plays a reasonable amount of minutes, other than like Jericho Sims and a couple of other goofballs, they're probably going to be at least a competent fantasy producer. Yeah. So if you give Tony Bradley 8 minutes, you're expecting somewhere around 8 fantasy points, which is pretty reasonable at a 1K price point.
Totally agree. Let's swing it now. Now that we hit like all or most of the idiots, including Tony Bradley, let's swing it back the other way. About 20% ownership going to Tyrese Halliburton in the captain spot at 11K. Brunson's 16% owned at 11.6, so $600 more expensive. Towns is at 10.6. Siakam's at 8,800. Those 4 guys make up the 12 to 20% range of captain. Well over 50% of that mark. And then no one else is at like much north of 5%. How are you sifting through the 4 guys that are getting the ownership? Does anything immediately stand out to you, both from your exposures or just like in your head what you wanted?
All right. So looking at the top guys, I don't have any like crazy stands for this slate. There's nobody who I'm like crazy overweight to the field to underweight. I've got some like little stands here and there. The one thing that does stand out to me a little bit is just based on some of the recency bias that we talk about a lot. Karl Anthony Towns, who everybody was shitting on through 3 quarters last game. And then the 4th quarter comes around and everybody's singing the praise of Karl Anthony Towns. I do wonder if he ends up being the most popular pay-up option on the slate just because of that 4th quarter. I
do feel like he'll get a little bit more love than this. I'm with you there. I don't think he's going to pass Halliburton. I think Halliburton's going to be pretty easily the most popular captain today. I just feel like he's got the steam behind him coming off the loss. Could be wrong. Does make me want to like shy away from. I don't even want to say shy away from Towns like that, but I do agree that it could come in a notch higher than we think. Where does that come from then, though? Do you think Brunson is less than that? Do you think Siakam is less than that? Do you think it's Halliburton?
So I think it's most likely to be Brunson because of the fact that he didn't have his best fantasy game last time out, had to sit most of the fourth quarter, got into the foul trouble. So it's not to say that these guys are going to be like that. Cat's going all of a sudden be like 20% owned in the captain and Brunson's going to be like 8% or anything like that. I just wouldn't be surprised if a couple percentage points come away from Brunson. They go to Cat by the time that the slate's actually locked.
Yeah, that would not be surprising to me either. We're on the same page there. Prior to my last run, we got an ownership update like 3 or 4 minutes ago. My most exposed captains were Halliburton and Towns, but I am admittedly slightly nervous about the Towns one. Although the only nerves that I have of it are just like if he's in foul trouble or in his own head, because I don't think that they can really stop him. I don't think there's anybody on the Pacers that matches up well with him. And if he wants to get his, I think he can. And I don't like saying that because I don't like Towns, but I do feel like that.
Which is why I made that promo mostly to troll you. I'm not sure if you
what
put that
promo
together.
Are you talking about, Greg? Could it be this promo? If you are interested in the portfolio EV tool at oddshopper.com, you want to take a market-based approach to beating the books, you guys can shop around to all the available books for you, or if it's pick'em sites for you, we have those too. We have a deep dive of portfolio information. Every recommendation that we've had for 2 years is available to you to sift through. Build a portfolio of just NBA points props on FanDuel. Take all PRAs across every book you can get. Dig into the details, build that portfolio, and then you get alerts for any bet that meets that criteria. You can do mass bets, parlay generators, odds boost calculators. We got a ton of stuff. Greg has a bankroll challenge thread that's been going since the beginning of the NBA season that's been absolutely exceptional. I started a boosts and promos thread yesterday on Twitter, posting anything that I could find across all of the major sports books. You guys can do all of that same stuff using the Portfolio EV tool, and you can do it for 75% off by using the promo code PER. I'm going to be honest, Greg. That cat looks more vicious than the Knicks version.
That's a terrifying looking cat. And more importantly, though, that promo code is going to be expiring tonight. So if you guys would also like to dig your claws into Josh and needle him a little bit, sign up Portfolio EV, link down below in the YouTube description box. Promo code PER, 75% off, whether you want to sign up for a weekly or a monthly package. And that is going to be a code that's ending tonight. It will be ending. So take advantage of it now or right after the show ends, or forever hold your peace.
Is there anything on today's slate that you feel like you have an angle on? For example, and I'm not pointing this out in any particular way, but yesterday's was Hartenstein. Do you have a Hartenstein today?
I don't really. I certainly don't have somebody who I like a lot that I think is going to end up playing super shitty like Hartenstein did yesterday. I'd say probably the closest to somebody who's like that is McBride. Just because he's not like unowned or anything like that, but he is modestly owned. We got him 25% owned right now. And I think he's going to play the bulk of the backup point guard minutes. And I don't even, like we talked about at the top, if we think that DeLon Wright and or Landry Shamet aren't going to be back in the rotation today, then you're getting like a pretty decent amount of minutes for Miles McBride, who's modestly owned, saves a salary so they could pay up for more of the stars. Potentially even get lineups like Brunson, Halliburton, and Cat in it when you get, McBride with Tony Bradley and then like whoever else fits into the lineup. So the player I am most overweight to right now, it is Deuce McBride.
Okay. I was over the last time I looked at my lineups. I just finished my sim, just pasted all of my stuff in, and currently 38% exposure to Miles McBride in the utility spot, currently projected for what, 24 or something like that. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I am joining you on Miles McBride Island for today. So we're on the same page for this one. I wasn't with you for Hartenstein yesterday. Bummer on my end. But I'm with
Went
you
well
today
for
on
you.
McBride.
That was a good one to not be on.
Yeah. Man, I had 5 in the top 1% yesterday, which is a lot for Showdown to not get one that matters. And I did not get one that mattered.
Yeah, it was. You know what I didn't have enough of last night was DiVincenzo. We were trying to figure out who the guy that nobody was expecting off the bench to go off yesterday. We were talking about a lot from the OKC end, but ended up being DiVincenzo from the Minnesota side. So didn't have enough of DiVincenzo yesterday.
Yeah, I would have preferred him to have the game that he did in, I think, game 2 when I jammed the shit out of him, but he held that one off, luckily for me. We got a question right now, and we should probably touch on it. Aaron Nesmith was questionable for a good chunk of today. Got just ruled in as available. He's starting. How do you want to handle Aaron Nesmith? Because for me personally, I am incredibly light on him. That is not because I have any like positive or negative confidence in it, but he is a wild card from today.
Yeah, so I'm underweight to him. Actually, not as underweight to him as I was the last couple of games, though. It's actually something I might want to do an ROI boost and tamp him down a little bit because he is fairly popular and he might be fine today, or that ankle might be an actual issue. We see this all the time in the playoffs with guys who maybe would have sat out regular season games, try to play in playoff games.
Yeah.
It almost always goes poorly. Like the one it went the best for was Aaron Gordon. And at the end of the day, it still ended up being a pretty shitty game. Like he started the game off like, oh my God, like how is this the guy at this price point that's going to get there? But it ended up all he could do was grab uncontested rebounds. He wasn't really able to do anything else in that game. We don't know the exact status of Aaron Nesmith in terms of like what percentage healthy is he. My intuition is that if this was a regular season game, he wouldn't be playing though. One thing I do like as a betting angle is I do like same game parlays and using some of those boosts where you get, like whatever, say you're on like a 20% boost, 25, 30% boost, and combining some of the Aaron Nesmith unders. Maybe you run into him not feeling great on the ankle and only playing a few minutes. There's just a wide range of outcomes with Nesmith. He could be fine and just make all of his threes like he did in game 1, or the ankle might not be feeling great and he might not be able to stick on the court, but the field is playing him as if he's 100%. And I'm just not convinced that's the case.
Completely agree. To me, he was always playing today, unless the ankle was so bad that he was never playing again in this series. Like that, those were the only two options. But I have no idea what he's going to look like when he gets out there. He could be totally fine, and one slight little twinge could set him off. So I didn't touch anything in his projections, but I have 15% of him right now. He is currently my biggest fade. That worked out perfectly as far as I'm concerned. And if he goes out there and goes crazy and is totally healthy, like, touche. At some point in time, I had to fade somebody. I'm happy that it's him.
Yeah, so I'm actually doing a little bit of a negative ROI boost on him right now. And like I said, I was already underweight to the field, but wasn't quite as much underweight to the field as I wanted to be. So now I updated it, and I have 15% of Nesmith now, which I mean, he's pulling 40% ownership today between the flex and the captain spot. That's a lot of a guy who's dealing with a potentially bum ankle. And for the record, if we had the same injury concern, but people were reacting to it in a way where he was like 5% owned, I'd be doing the inverse and I'd be trying to get him into my lineups. I just think this is a situation with a wide range of outcomes. And with that being in mind, I just want to do the opposite of whatever the field is doing with him.
Let's play this out just slightly. We still have about 8 minutes left. If it is a negative Aaron Nesmith game because of the health of his ankle, where does the benefit go? Is that Ben Shepherd? Is that Benedict Mathurin? Or are you looking for benefit on the opposite side for the Knicks? Because I think that changes the outlook of Jalen Brunson in a massive way.
Yeah, and Brunson's already somebody who, like I said before, I think his ownership, not that it's going to be like nothing or anything, but I think we're going to see a little bit of ownership come away from him relative to projections go to Cat, just because that's who played better most recently. I do think it would benefit him. For the Pacers, it seems like Carlisle is liking playing Ben Shepherd right now, but Ben Shepherd is still Ben Shepherd and is kind of trash. So there is a scenario here where we actually see Benedict Mathurin maybe get dusted off and play a little bit more. So that actually, those a couple of things that I want to do right now. I already said that I did the negative ROI boost to Nesmith. I'm gonna give a positive ROI boost to Mathurin. He is super low owned. So if you want to take a fly, like this isn't going to be somebody I'm taking in like 40% of lineups or anything like that. But a 2% on Benedict Mathurin, I want to have like 10% of him or something like that.
It's the right strategy. I just don't want to roster him because I can't stand him. He's terrible. He's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, but it's just the alternative is them playing, like Ben Shepherd more.
Or is the alternative them dusting off Jarris Walker, which I think is viable, at least based on what they've been doing with Mathurin so far, who played 8 minutes last time out. I think he's more likely to not get those minutes than somebody else does, but he could also just go out there and, he is a guy that can do some dribble penetration. Maybe that works if Tony Bradley's on the floor. I don't know. I just don't want to root for Mathurin.
He's still a viable fantasy producer. Like we've seen big games from Mathurin. We've seen times where he's been chalk. I'll make him a contrarian guy who I'm trying to force into some lineups. I'd never.
Impact's calling for the Johnny Furphy minutes.
Johnny Furphy. He wasn't even. Yeah, maybe he wasn't. I don't remember, but I don't even think he was relevant in end of season slates.
No, that he's made for the Indiana Pacers. All right, who are your biggest stands?
All right, so biggest stands. All right, as I'm doing this update here. All right, so Miles McBride. I have 13% of Benedict Mathurin now. So with him being 3% owned, that's, somewhat of a stand. And that's also, I think it's like a pretty good number to have on Benedict Mathurin, where it's like, if he ends up being a contrarian guy who goes off, cool, I've got 13% of him. But at the same time, too, if he's just Benedict Mathurin and continues to play like 8 minutes and is uninvolved, it's not like I'm banging my head against the wall because I played 13% of him.
No.
So I like getting to some of Mathurin as a contrarian option. And my favorite pay-up option is Jalen Brunson.
So right now, the guy that I have the most is Halliburton. Basically a third of my captain lineups and neutral at the utility. Like overall neutral to Brunson. Little over on Towns, most of that coming at the captain spot. McBride is the value dude I'm getting a pretty big stand on, along with our boy, Tony Bradley. It's my fades that are very interesting. I've got 4 really sizable ones. Turner, Robinson, Bridges, and Nesmith. Back on my Bridges fade, so he should be great today. Don't mind the Miles Turner one. Don't mind the Mitchell Robinson one. I'm over on Josh Hart. So if I'm going to be light on Mitchell Robinson, I'm happy to get to Josh Hart. I think that's a pretty easy 1-to-1 swap. The only guy that concerns me is Bridges because I just always feel like I don't get him right.
He had the opportunities last game. He just didn't really deliver on them, which was I was overweight to him in DFS. Also super annoying. I bet him for over 16.5 points. I think he finished with like 15 points on like 4 of 17 shooting or something terrible like that. But also part of the reason he had the added opportunity was because of all the foul trouble that Brunson and Towns got into. I have definitely played more of Bridges than you over the course of the postseason. I don't have a ton of him today, though.
Okay. This is the most concentrated I've been at captain in any game that we've been doing these showdowns. 92% of my captain exposure to the 4 main guys in Halliburton, Brunson, Towns, and Siakam. I got 3% of Hart, 3% of Nembhard. Like that's it for me at the captain today. And I'm not super concerned with that because as you get deeper in these series, you start to concentrate those minutes on all the better players. And it's going to be harder for the ancillary pieces to have the score that's necessary to offset one of those main guys having the big game. So I don't hate it for where I'm at right now. My only concern, the one that truly, like, I'd like to have more Miles Turner, but I think it's just because I like him.
I'm like right in line with the field on Turner. He's 31% owned. I have 29% of him in the flex spot. In the captain, I have 2% of him. Field actually does have 5% of Miles Turner at the captain, so a little bit underweight there. But, nothing really all that significant. Like you, most of my exposures is coming. I've got 12+% of Halliburton, Brunson, Siakam, and Towns at the captain spot, and I don't have anybody else in more than 5% of lineups at captain.
Don't forget, we are currently live on playback.tv/Stokastic. Greg has been sharing the OddsShopper Portfolio EV tool for the entire time we've been here, but that will switch over to the game in 2 minutes. Now, we won't be live. I'll be popping in the chat from time to time, but if this game is close late, you can see me for the fourth quarter, and I'll let everybody know that I'm going live at that point. Who wins?
I'm going to say the Knicks, and you're going to say the Pacers. Go tell everybody that you're picking the Pacers.
Yes, I am taking the Pacers today.
I think they
get
the Knicks
this one
once
done.
in a single game this postseason.
I took the Knicks in game 3.
Haven't taken a Knicks once this entire postseason. You hate them. You hate them. You hate Cat. You've got a dartboard in your room. It's got Cat's face on it.
They're the biggest frauds in the playoffs. So I feel comfortable with that.
I don't know.
Chat,
about that.
Who wins? Don't forget, 75% off with the promo code PER. Go to oddshopper.com and enter that promo code, or click the link in the description of this video. And the fact that it has the tail is the best part. Like the implication that Karl Towns has, like, maybe that's the problem and he has to deal with his tail being in his shorts the entire time.
If you told me he has a tail, it wouldn't be shocking to me. It's a possibility.
I'm picturing it like Shallow Hal right now. Are you familiar?
I am familiar.
Yeah, Towns got to get that tail docked. I know it's probably not ideal to do it at this point in time, but it's got to just cause so many problems. Maybe that's what happens with the fouls, or maybe he needs to be more like Tigger and try to bounce off of it.
Could be. Yeah, that could be the issue. Is that he can't control his tail and he's just hitting. But there's no player who takes dumber fouls than Cat, and it's such a negative to his value. He would be like, obviously he's very good.
Yeah.
And we've gone over he's maybe the most talented offensive center in the East right now. I think that's probably fair to say with Joel Embiid in a diminished state right now. If he could just avoid the dumbest fucking fouls of all time and stay on the court more, it would be such an increase to his value. And it's not even that big of an ask.
It really isn't. We are locked, folks. We are locked for game 4 of the Knicks and Pacers. This one is on TNT, which means this game will start in like 5 minutes. So get excited. Head to playback.tv/Stokastic if you want to hang out and watch the game, because it will be on Playback. Greg, do you have anything else to add before we dip?
No, the game is on Playback, and they're already introducing the players. The game will be starting momentarily. If you guys didn't do it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Later, y'all.